So this is a surfing story, but I have to be direct about one thing straight away from the beginning, is that I am not a very good surfer. People who really know what they're doing with surfing would still call me a grom. I have been surfing fairly regularly for 10 years, but starting late in life, it's difficult to catch up. And I have to say that no, I'm not an experienced surfer, so please forgive me. But I'm just going to tell you the story that, my surfing story. So I decided I wanted to really get decent at surfing around about 2012 when I started coming to Bali, because I had been surfing in South Africa, but you can get definitely days on end, and sometimes even on months on end, definitely weeks, where you don't get decent waves. And being on one coast, one wind direction, one swell direction, you can't get this reliable, consistent flow of waves that you need to improve rapidly, as I wanted to do. And so I started going to Bali. Now, I'd done some surfing as a kid. I went to Newquay in Cornwall, and I went with a couple of friends in our 20s, and we were equipped with those wetsuits that were about this thick, and they had cleverly designed seams on every part of the underarm and the inner leg to make sure that as they screamed at you, paddle, 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 and you paddle like hell on your 10-foot long foam board to catch a wave that was this big, that it inevitably chafed the skin away under your arms, so that it just got worse during the day. And it was about that thick, so it was exhausting to even walk around in those things. And you were still cold. Come out of the water, and I thought my feet were going to fall off. But of course, that didn't stop us going into the pub in the evening and sitting there with all the experienced proper surfers, watching the video from Hawaii at Pipeline or somewhere, and looking up and saying, yeah, that was us today. Yeah, we're surfers. But of course, we're not. So eventually I got the opportunity to try to learn properly, and I took it. But you see, when professional surfers are out there, or guys who've been surfing since they were kids, when they paddle out on the board, the back is arched and the head is up looking where to go, and the arms are paddling nicely, the feet are together on the board, everything is coordinated, and as is the case, it looks like they've been doing it since kids. Now in my case, I was taught very well by an ex-professional surfer, and other guys have given me lots of good advice and help. So when I paddle out first thing in the surf, I also have the arched back and the looking ahead, and I'm paddling firmly and locking my knees together and my ankles together and looking the part. But of course, 15 to 20 minutes later, when I'm tired, my head is down, I'm paddling like a beginner, my legs start to spread out and drag in the water, and anyone can tell that I'm not an experienced surfer. So I'd been working 8 weeks on, 4 weeks off in Abu Dhabi, and doing the 4 weeks off surfing in Bali. And brilliant, because so many different areas. You get great waves, of course, in Bali, particularly the Uluwatu area and other secret gems, but usually Uluwatu would be too big for me. So further down around the peninsula of the Bucket, there would be lots and lots of other breaks like Dreamland and Balangan and Padang Padang, Green Bowl, Secrets, lots and lots of different places to go, which would give me, at my level, because I couldn't adapt, I had to go to where the waves suited me that day. So when they were at 3 to 4 feet high, nicely breaking on shore, not too hollow, so that I could actually surf it, and because I'm slow to get to my feet, etc. And it was going fairly well, a little bit frustrating. There is a wave pool in Al Ain, which is in Abu Dhabi, and I was able to go there maybe once every 10 days, just so I didn't completely lose the surfing learning curve while I was working. Then the 4 weeks off, Bali, surf every single day, get ear infections, get reef damage to my feet, get concussion falling on the rocks, all the stuff, but trying to catch up for this decades of missed surfing. And then 2016, I lost that job, and I had 6 months off completely in Bali, surfing, and definitely making significant improvements. Now, I remember after about 3 months, when I was comfortable at the Dreamland area, especially because it's a beach break, so no coral, some rocks, but no coral. no reef to cut you up. And I was taking more chances and catching bigger waves, and happy to get tossed about. And my duck dive, when the wave comes in and it breaks and you need to get down underneath it, my duck dive was improving. Not perfect, but I could probably do 7 or 8 in a row before I lost the board in the surf and had to swim. So definitely improving. And I remember going down one morning, full of confidence, and then standing on the beach there at Dreamland, looking out, and it was a big day. I mean, I think it was at Uluwatu, it was probably 10 feet. So at Dreamland, it was somewhere around about 6 feet. And that's big. 6 feet sounds like nothing. I'm 6'2". That's not even as tall as I am. It's nothing. But when you're lying down paddling and you're inexperienced and this wave is crashing towards you, it looks a lot more than that. It's very intimidating. So I was standing on the beach, and Dreamland therefore was about 6 feet. And I was standing there looking out, and I was thinking, can I do this? Can I handle this wave? Can I go out? Should I push myself, or should I not? And in the end, I stood there for a long time, and then I thought, no, I won't take the chance. I'll come in. I'll go find somewhere else. I think I went to Jimbaran that day and surfed like 1 foot waves on a longboard. But I remember that moment. A couple of months later, similar situation. As I came out onto the beach at Dreamland, it was huge. It's the biggest I've ever seen it at Dreamland. It was averaging 6 to 8 feet, which is too big for me. And there was a young woman standing where I'd been standing a couple of months before with her surfboard, and I could see the same thing was going on in her head. Should I go out? Should I not go out? I think she was probably about 5'6". The board was about 5'8", 5'9". So she was obviously reasonably experienced. Generally speaking, the shorter the board, the more competent the surfer, particularly if they're a smaller person. So a few inches longer board than you are tall, or even less, is someone who's a really, really good surfer. Someone like me, I can't even get that board to paddle. I can't even get it to plane on the wave. It just sinks on, especially because I'm heavier than the average surfer. So I figured, and this board looked like a good board. It seemed like a nice shape. It had some wear on it, and I thought, yeah, I think this young lady, she's got some skills, some experience. And she was standing there humming and hawing, and just as I was walking up, she turned around and went back in. So she was right where I was a couple of months ago. So a few moments later, I'm in exactly that same spot. I'm standing there, I'm thinking, what do I do? And I looked at these waves, and I know the channel in Dreamland where you can get out fairly easy without having to do many duck dives under aggressive waves falling on you. So I thought, yeah, let me go out and give it a try. There were about 20 guys out there, because when Dreamland gets big, as you approach the beach on the right-hand side, it's got what they call a peak, like an A-frame. So the wave, in order to surf a wave, if the wave breaks at exactly the same time in every place, you can't really surf it except straight ahead. You need it to break here, and then here, and then here, and then here, and then you can surf along it. Basic principles. This one was unusual because when the peak breaks, it breaks in both directions. So there's a shorter right and a long left that can go all the way several hundred meters out. And I've heard that some people have even surfed that around the corner into the next bay. It can carry on so long. And there's a channel where underwater, I think it was as a result of some changes the government made, possibly a pipeline in there or something, but there's a channel where no matter how big the surf comes in, it doesn't break until right onto the shore. So if you jump over it at the shore and paddle out, there's an easy access to the back. Anyway, I looked at it and I thought, let me try. I can just paddle out. If I'm not happy, I can maybe find a small one to come back in, or worst case scenario, be a complete wimp and paddle back in the channel. I know Dreamland, it's smooth rocks. I've been smashed on them a couple of times, broken a couple of boards, but it's not like coral, which shreds your skin in the process. So a couple of bumps and bruises and hopefully no broken bones, worst case scenario. I'm going for it. So I paddle out, and as I'm going out there, I'm recognizing some faces. There's a few people who go out on you when it's really big. A couple of old boys from Australia who sit at the back with fairly large boards, just pick 1 or 2 big waves and let everybody else go. And some middle ranking surfers that gave me a little bit of confidence that, okay, if they're there, then maybe I can handle it. So I paddle out. Now, surf etiquette, I believe it's on the decline, but basically there are two major factors in the surf etiquette. The one is that, let's say the wave is breaking this way, so it's breaking that way. The surfer who's closest here to where the wave is breaking, he or she has the priority to take that wave. If you're here as another surfer, so here's the wave breaking, here's surfer 1, here's surfer 2, the wave is going to break that way, so he wants to get up and turn. You're not allowed to drop in, as they call it, here, because he's got the wave, or she. That person has the wave. You shouldn't drop in here. So I paddled out and aware of that. And also traditional old etiquette, not that many waves, many surfers, it's not right to just paddle out and jump on the first wave that comes. You should really be out the back and wait for your turn. I was nervous and I was tired from the paddle, so I paddled out right to the back and went all the way around the back of where all the surfers were waiting. Sat up on my board and thought, right, okay, let me see how this is. The waves, where the waves are breaking in relation to the beach, if you go out further out than that, generally the wave should not be breaking, so you can sit and you're safe from the wave. It's going to lift you up as it goes by, but it's not going to break. It's not going to curl over and break. So I was sitting out the back. Just as I'm sitting up and starting to get my composure and relax and get my breath back, I see all of the other surfers turn and they're all paddling towards me. So they're paddling out. And that means only one thing. Look behind me and there's a huge set coming. Big waves. Now, they're going to break further out, so the people sitting here are not safe. They need to paddle further out so they can get over the wave before it breaks. So there's only one person out there who's actually in exactly the right place to catch the next big wave. Me. Because I'm the scaredy cat out the back. Look over my shoulder, and there are these defining moments in your life. I could easily have turned around and paddled maybe 10 strokes and I would have been out the back behind these waves, nothing to do with them. But I was in exactly the right spot for this wave. And I could see it's bigger than anything I've surfed before by a long way. 2 or 3 seconds to make a decision. Wimp out, paddle out further, get past that, wait for something more sensible. Or is this life just saying, here's your opportunity. Do you have the balls? Do you want this? So I paddled. I started paddling. I was scared. And then everybody was passing me. I was paddling and a couple of guys were like, yeah, like go, like you're in the right position. One of my rules when I was learning to surf was that if I started paddling for a wave and people started shouting encouragement, then I was the wrong wave. It was the wrong wave for me and it was going to end badly. So that didn't help my confidence at all. Glancing over the shoulder, oh no, here's this wave. And it just picked me up. And I was looking vertically down and I could see through the water that seemed to like draw towards me as the wave came up. I can see the rocks and coral underneath. And I felt like I was almost vertical. I was like, oh, well, I need to stand now or I'm just going to flip and I'm going to die. So I jumped to my feet and thankfully I landed squarely on the board. Then I started the ride down this wave. And I was like, don't look down because you go where you look. Don't look down, look up, look at the beach. So look up. And I bent my knees so much that when I it got to the bottom of the wave and then started to pull out, I could absorb it. I've never gone so fast on a surfboard. I was flying down the front of this wave. The front of the board was chattering, cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha on the water, and I was too afraid to move my weight forward because if the nose tipped in, straight over the top, smash, and then this big wave on top of me. Now, as I said, this wave was a peak, so it's an A-frame. So I just got motoring and I was experiencing the chattering, and it's like it's time to turn. So I looked to my left, and there's this beautiful wall, green wall of wave just heading out as far as I could see. And for a split second, I thought, I got to surf left. I've got to catch this wave and carry on. But as I turned, I was like, I'm not good enough. I might get a couple of turns in. I feel like I nearly died just getting onto the first drop. at some point this thing is going to kill me. So I looked right and I saw the same thing but much shorter, maybe just one turn. And I chickened out. I didn't want to push my luck even further. So I turned right, and I've never gone so fast. I could feel like the back end almost skidding out on the board. Turned around, and there was the face, and I said, and it was only short. I could probably do 1 or 2 turns, but I was like, let me not push my luck here. Let me just pop over the top. So as the wave is breaking, I was like, okay, I'll up over the top, down the other side, and I will have survived. But also, I'd never been in this situation before, and I thought it was just going to be a little pop. So I turned all the way around to the right and thought, I'll just pop over the wave here down, and I'll be safe on the other side. I was going so fast, and I had no idea about how to bleed off the speed. Maybe if I'd stamped on the back of the board a little bit, slowed down, or moved along the wave a little bit, but I just almost went straight up, back up the face of the wave, and then just was airborne. And I was like, oh, that doesn't seem so bad, because I was still looking where the wave was going, so I was higher than the wave. When I looked behind the wave and down, I think it was about a 4-meter drop. It was probably almost a 2-meter, maybe 2.5-meter wave, and I'd gone off the top, way up into the air, and I was just hanging there. And then I was thinking, okay, what do I do now? I'm going to fall, obviously, and gravity dictates that, but how do I fall? Do I kick the board away? I don't want to land on the board. I've done that before on a small wave and got scars, stitches on my stomach to show for it. But if I kick the board away, if I'm standing on it and I kick it away, I might end up flat. And then if I fall flat onto the wave, that's really going to hurt onto the water. And I was still trying to make up my mind, and the board kind of drifted away from me. And I remember counting in the air, 1 second, 2 seconds, 3 seconds, bam, hit the water. And I went in at semi of an angle, so not vertical, which would be ideal. Well, I'm not sure that would be ideal because you might go too deep then, but not vertical, not flat, and down a little bit, time under the water. I used to dive, like springboard dive a little bit, so being 3 or 4 meters from a dive was not unusual. It actually gave me some peace for a moment until I realized that this was probably only the first wave in the set and the others were now coming, so I needed to get up and get out of the way. Came up to the surface, saw there was another wave coming, but it was a little bit out. Pulled my board to me, amazingly no damage, jumped on, paddled out a little further so I was behind the wave, and there was everybody else waiting, engaging to go for these waves. And I just didn't even look at them. Here's this guy, they've seen me surfing there before, they know I'm not very good. Paddles out, goes to the back of the lineup, catches a wave, definitely 6 feet, maybe 7 feet, which is huge for me and big for a lot of people. I mean, not for the pros and the big surfers, they'll be like, that's nothing, double overhead, Especially as it's the type of the wave and what's underneath it, how close it is to the beach or the coral, etc. Those are all factors, but for me and most of the people in this group, that was a big wave, a very big wave. Comes out, paddles out the back, takes one wave ahead of everybody else, comes out the back again. And I thought, no, I just turned, I paddled over to the channel and I went home. And I walked up the beach and I didn't know what to feel. I was almost crying, almost relieved. I think I felt happy, but the main thing that I got from that day was, I've done that now. I went out, I surfed for me what's a monster wave, and it's a seriously big wave, even for enthusiastic, experienced surfers. Next time I'm standing on that spot, like that girl was, the young lady, and like I was, I'm now informed. I can go out there, I can surf that wave. But I got away with a lot. And if like that's my skill level and that was what the wave required, there was no margin. So if I'd made a slight mistake, it would have been a disaster. So I know my limits. And so I know now that I'll surf here but I don't feel like a chicken not going out, because I did it. So I know my limit, I know what that's like, and I know that I was lucky to get away with it. So not tempted to do it again, no ego problem to say, that's too big for me, I might get hurt. And that was the biggest lesson I learned that day.